Good afternoon. This is ST Live and we are bringing you updates on the situation in Ukraine. Thanks for joining us. Russia's invasion of Ukraine enters the second week, and here's the latest from the war-torn country. Europe's biggest nuclear power plant is on fire after being attacked by Russian troops. The mayor of the nearby town of Energoda citing what he called a threat to world security as he posted an image of the fire at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant on social media early this morning. The International Atomic Energy Agency has called for fighting to end in the northwestern town of Energoda near the nuclear plant. Reports say there have been shooting from all sides of the nuclear site, sparking fear of a radiation disaster. Russia has already seized control of the decommissioned Chernobyl nuclear plant, the scene of the world's worst nuclear disaster in 1986. And for more, let's speak with Dr. Philip Andrew Speed, a senior principal fellow at the Energy Studies Institute at the National University of Singapore. Good to have you with us, Philip. Russian troops are shelling Ukraine's biggest nuclear plant, which is also Europe's biggest. Educate us on what type of nuclear reactors there are in this plant. Are they similar to the ones in Chernobyl?
Good morning. So these plants were built in the 1980s, so they're now 40 years old, so they're not terribly modern. They're what we call pressurized water reactors, 6 of them totaling nearly 6 gigawatts in size, which is equivalent to half the capacity in Singapore. But they fortunately are quite a different technology from the Chernobyl plant, which is much older and uses different systems.
From your point of view, what is the worst case scenario should the nuclear reactors get caught in the crossfire?
Well, there is already a fire there, and the firefighters can't get there. But as I understand, the fire in itself is not dangerous. It's peripheral to the main reactors. If, however, the main reactor canopy is destroyed and there is a fire in the main reactor or in where the fuel rods are or where the spent fuel is, then you're going to have a very serious accident on the scale of Chernobyl or more that will affect Europe and Russia as well. So if it goes to that extreme, that will happen. But one hopes that President Putin does not want that to happen and that he calls his troops back and gets them doing something else.
Philip, are there any other risks we're looking at?
Yes, there are 3 other things that people are talking about. First, if the national grid collapses through being physically attacked, through an accident or through cybersecurity, and the nuclear power plants across the country do not get electricity, then there's a risk that there could be heating up, the cooling systems don't work properly, and there could be risks coming out of that. The second risk is that the staff inside the plants, making sure that all the safety systems work, they could be stressed, they could leave the plant or whatever, and thus they are incapable of carrying out the safety systems as they should do. And finally, there could be theft of nuclear materials by terrorists or other malevolent people.
Well, we'll definitely be following those developments in Ukraine. Thank you very much for your perspectives, Dr. Philip Andrew Speed, a senior principal fellow at the Energy Studies Institute, National University of Singapore. Now here's what we know from the other major battlefields in Ukraine. The 64-kilometer-long military convoy headed towards Ukraine's capital appears to have halted. Experts say it could be waiting for logistical supplies before an assault on Kiev. The port city of Mariupol has been relentlessly shelled as Russian forces try to surround and capture the city, a key strategic target for Russia in southern Ukraine. Russia took control of another city in southern Ukraine, Kherson. It is the first major population center to be captured by Russia in more than a week of fighting. Negotiators at talks in Belarus say a ceasefire at certain locations was possible to allow people to evacuate safely.
It's not about I want to talk with Putin. I think I have to talk with Putin The world has to talk with Putin because there are no another ways to stop this war. That's why I have to. В любых переговорах есть смысл. Любое слово важнее выстрела. Если можешь сначала сказать, а потом выстрелить, делай так. Я живу такими принципами.
Meanwhile, in Russia, President Vladimir Putin insists that the war is going to plan. In a TV broadcast, the Russian president accused Ukrainian forces of using civilians as human shields while providing no evidence. Singapore will co-sponsor a United Nations resolution that condemns human rights violations and abuses resulting from Russia's continued aggression against Ukraine. Singapore's permanent representative to the UN, Zaporizhzhia, said this is not about taking a side, but about taking a stand. The resolution has been co-sponsored by 66 countries, more than half of which are members of the Forum of Small States, including Singapore. And finally, Formula One racing is the latest sporting setback for Russia. F1 has removed the country as Grand Prix host for good, following its invasion of Ukraine.
As Russian forces moved deeper into Ukraine on Friday, sports bodies moved quickly to strip Russia of events. Formula One canceled the Grand Prix in Sochi as a result of Russian aggression, and St. Petersburg lost the Champions League final, club soccer's showpiece event. European soccer governing body UEFA decided to relocate the Champions League final to the Stade de France in Paris after receiving support from French President Emmanuel Macron. The decision was met with regret by the Kremlin, but welcomed by UK Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries. In a statement, she said, quote, "Russia must not be allowed to exploit sporting and cultural events on the world stage to legitimize its unprovoked, premeditated, and needless attack against a sovereign democratic state." Meanwhile, Formula One, motorsport's governing body FIA, and the teams discussed the situation and came to the conclusion that it was impossible to hold the Russian Grand Prix in the current circumstances. The race, which joined the calendar in 2014, was scheduled for September 25th at Sochi's Olympic Park. The International Olympic Committee urged international sports federations to either move or cancel sports events currently planned in Russia or Belarus. Russian troops entered Ukraine through Belarus when the invasion began on Thursday. The IOC added the two countries' flags should not be displayed at sports events.
And you can follow breaking news and the latest on the Ukraine crisis at straitstimes.com. Don't forget to hit subscribe to stay informed and activate the bell icon on YouTube to catch live news updates. I'm Lin Li Fu. Thanks for watching.